All right, hey, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are, whatever time it is, wherever you are. Welcome in to another episode of the Regular Guys DFS show, talking NBA DFS today. I am David. Welcome back to the jungle. And yeah, not much going on today as far as NBA fantasy goes. Wow, what a morning that we've had already. I waited just a little bit longer here to record this video just in case. If you haven't, for some reason, been keeping up here this morning, we've got a lot of news that has come out that is greatly going to affect today's slate and probably some slates going forward here, the way it sounds. So, anyway, before we get into the breakdown of today's two-game slate, we're coming off a couple of really good days. So we're going to hope to keep this going now that we have another two-game slate today. But as always, guys, I'd appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. I'd also appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button, click the little notification bell, and that way you do get notified every time we upload some new videos. Give me a follow on Twitter at SandoDFS. We put some updates out throughout the day if necessary there, and throughout the evening as well as we get closer to game time if anything comes up. You can also get entered into our $25 contest for the playoffs. 25 DFS dollars if you follow me on Twitter, retweet the post that has the link to this video in it. You'll automatically be entered into the $25 drawing, or you can just leave a comment down below in the comment section. So yeah, if you guys don't mind, like button, subscribe button, and notification bell, Twitter. And let's get into it on what's going to be a very interesting slate for today. So I'm sure everybody has heard the news by now. Kawhi Leonard is out for tonight, and it sounds like we might have a real problem with his knee here. They said he's out indefinitely. So to me, that sounds like probably more than one game. So, yeah, that's bad news for the Clippers. We also found out today that Paul George has entered the COVID protocol. Or, excuse me, not Paul George. Sorry. Chris Paul. Chris Paul has entered the COVID protocol. So his status, whenever we get to the Western Conference Finals, is a little bit up in the air as well. So, what does it mean for today's slate? Well, a lot. And we're going to have a lot of different options now and a lot of different ways we can go. So let's just go ahead and build a couple of lineups here. And let's start with one that I think I'm going to put in where basically it's going to be kind of like a regular season lineup where I'm just going to go full studs and scrubs mode. And we'll just go ahead and start that with the big man in the middle, Joel Embiid. Now, this is a play that I'm not 1,000% confident in this like I was probably the first two games of the slate. If you guys watched that game, the last game that they had, whatever night that was, Monday night, the second half, Joel Embiid was bad. And it looked like that knee was seriously giving him problems. He said after the game that he didn't have any lift. He didn't have any explosion. He's not listed on today's injury report, so I'm just going to assume that he's going to go ahead and go out and give it another go, and hopefully it's not as in bad a shape as it was Monday night, and that he can get back to, how he was those first couple of games where he scored 39 and 40 points. But, you just never know what you're going to get with Embiid. You don't know. And, I mean, he could get out there and go 5 minutes and have those knee troubles again, not be able to finish the game. So if you're playing multiple lineups today, like I usually do, play 2 to 3 lineups. Having a lineup without Embiid in it is probably not a horrible idea today. But I'm also going to have a lineup with him in it in case he comes out and plays like he did, in those first couple of games. So, no Kawhi Leonard tonight, which means a couple of guys are just kind of a lock-in for me right now. And I'm going to start at the point guard position with Donovan Mitchell. First of all, we all know how good Donovan's been. Now, apparently he might have a little bit of a knee injury, and we don't know about the status of Mike Conley. I'm making this video under the assumptions that Mike Conley is not playing again tonight. So if we get news throughout the day, again, I was trying to wait as long as I could to put the video out to see maybe we would get some Mike Conley news. Hasn't come down yet as of 11:30 this morning here Central Time. So I'm just going to go ahead and proceed as if Mike Conley is not playing. If we get word that he is, then obviously a lot of this is going to change. But regardless of Mike Conley in or out, Donovan Mitchell has been the guy for Utah, and he's going to continue to be the guy as long as he's healthy and able to be out there. No Kawhi Leonard. I'm just getting something on the phone, guys. Let me check here, see if it's a Mike Conley. Chris Paul tested positive for COVID-19. So, yeah, that's going to probably extend, I think it's 10 days maybe that he has to wait now. So, anyway, we'll deal with that for the next slate. But for today, anyway, Donovan Mitchell, with no Kawhi Leonard, Kawhi was guarding Donovan quite a bit here in the last couple of games and doing a much better job after Donovan had those two huge games 1 and game 2. With no Kawhi out there now, I just think that, Donovan Mitchell's usage is going to be through the roof no matter what, but maybe he gets a little bump here without Kawhi, who's probably the best defender for the Clippers, not out on the floor. So I just think Mitchell here just becomes a plug-and-play in pretty much all the lineups I put in. I might put one in without him, but I doubt it if I only play 3. I think Mitchell's probably going to be in all 3 of them. And then we go to, obviously, Paul George is another great option as far as our stud option goes. He's going to have to carry it. Can he do what Kevin Durant did last night? I doubt it. He's not really that quite that kind of player, but Paul George is going to have to provide a lot of the scoring for the Clippers if they're going to stay in this game. I am a little bit concerned, frankly, without Kawhi, this game being in Utah. I'm a little bit concerned about a potential blowout here, but we can't make our fantasy lineups, counting on that. But if Utah is going to stay in this game, if they're going to make it a competitive game or have a chance to win it, Paul George is going to have to come through, and he's going to have to come through big, and that means he's going to have to take a lot of shots, and he's going to have the ball in his hand a lot. So, throughout the season, this past season, anytime Paul George was out, Kawhi became a fabulous play. Anytime Kawhi was out, Paul George was generally a fabulous play, and now we're getting that scenario here in the playoffs. So, definitely Paul George is almost a must-play for me as well. So we're down to $4,380 in salary. We're going to have to find some value somewhere along the line, but I put this lineup together a little earlier, and I think I can. So, again, going under the assumption that Mike Conley is not playing tonight, I'm going to go right back to Joe Ingles. I've played him the last couple slates. He's been pretty good. He's been much better than Jordan Clarkson from a fantasy position, and he's still $1,100 cheaper. So I don't see any reason to change the strategy. Ingles, if Conley doesn't play, is going to get the start, and I assume continue to play similar type of minutes as he has played, and he's been pretty productive. So I think we'll just go ahead and assume that Conley isn't playing, and we'll put Joe Ingles into the lineup. At power forward, I've got it laid out to where I am going to go to Nicholas Batum from the Clippers. He has been pretty good last couple games for the Clippers, 30 and 32 fantasy points, and only scored 7 points in the last game, but had 3 steals, a block, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and got him to the 30-point mark. He's been playing between 30 and 35 minutes. He might even play more than that now that Kawhi. This Clippers lineup is going to. I am really curious to see who starts, and we'll talk about that as we get a little bit later here in the video. But I expect some of these guys to even have to play bigger minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if Batum has to play 38 to 40 minutes. Maybe the same thing with Morris. Who are they going to start instead of Kawhi? These are all things that are up in the air right now that we're going to have to keep an eye on. So obviously our lineups here and our construction of our lineups can change. The problem is we've got the 9 o'clock game tonight with the Clippers. We're probably not going to get any clarification on who's starting. So that'll make our lineup construction pretty important and who we put in certain spots in case we need to do some kind of a swap out. So Yeah, but I think Batum's going to continue to play the big minutes, and he's been pretty good. He's been more consistent than Morris. Morris seems to be about every other game, he has a good game. And if you follow that pattern, he had a big game last game. So, I mean, technically he would be due for not a big game. Not, I don't think we can, just completely count on that when we're making our lineups. But it is something that's been kind of interesting to watch. He'll seem to have a big game followed by kind of a dud, and then a big game by a dud. And he would be due for a dud tonight. But I still think he's a good play, obviously. Any of these Clipper starters pretty much are going to be a good play because they're going to have to play extended minutes. They're going to have more usage with Kawhi off the floor. The offense has to come from somewhere. Paul George can't absorb all of Kawhi's offense. So any of these Clipper starters, and then we'll get into some of their backups here too as well, that should make for some pretty good value tonight. In fact, let's just get into that right now. Trying to decipher who the Clippers are going to use as their bench players in this series has been kind of tough because one night it's Terrence Mann, one night it's Luke Kennard, then one night it's Beverly. So we don't really know. The last game, it was one thing we do know, I think, is that Patrick Beverly has seemed to have passed Rajon Rondo in the lineup. I don't even think Rondo's played the last two games. But you see Beverly got 20 minutes last game. I think he had a similar run, 17 to 22 minutes the game before. He's not a terribly productive offensive player, generally speaking. He can have some bigger games, but he's more of a defensive specialist. But he's going to get the minutes, I think. So at this point, I'm going to plug him in. It's hard to even find him at this other guard position for value. But I'm also going to look pretty hard at a guy like Mann or Kennard if we get word that either one of those guys are starting. Now, throughout the season, most of the time when Kawhi missed, it was Mann who got the start. But they could start Kennard as well. Or they could start Jackson and Beverly, but I doubt they'll do that. So keep an eye tonight on whether Kennard or Mann starts. I have a feeling it's going to be Mann, and if it is Mann, then I would probably change this from Beverly to Mann, because that way then I know that he's going to get a significant number of minutes, and he's kind of a hit or miss guy, but he has more offensive and fantasy upside than Pat Beverly. And in the second lineup we're going to build here, guys, I'm actually going to go ahead and plug him in, assuming he's going to start for Kawhi. But yeah, Beverly, Kennard, Mann here, whatever you're comfortable with. I kind of have a sneaky suspicion about Mann tonight. I really do. But Beverly is a guy who's been getting the bench minutes, so we'll go ahead and put him in here in this guard position. And then a guy who wasn't very good last game, which I think helps us out tonight. Maybe his ownership will be a little bit lower. I don't have any problem going right back to Kevin Huerter. 35 minutes, only 23 fantasy points, but the 35 minutes is the key. He got back to those last couple of games, that second game against Philly where he played 36 minutes. I still think it's going to be him and Gallinari pretty much taking up the minutes for DeAndre Hunter. Huerter wasn't great last game. He was really bad 2 games ago, so I guess he was a little better last game. But I don't have any problem going right back to him. Huerter's a good shooter. If he gets hot, he can certainly pay off that price tag. So he'll be our forward position here. And then in the last hole, we have kind of a decision to make. Do we want to go with Gallinari or do we want to go with Korkmaz? Now, Philadelphia's another interesting team to look for to value today, guys, because Korkmaz got the start. He came in when Danny Green got hurt and played most of Green's minutes in that game. Then he started last game, but, I can't remember exactly how many minutes he played. It was only 25 minutes, had 18 fantasy points. They gave some minutes to Thibault. They gave some minutes to George Hill. They gave some minutes to Shake Milton. So, we'll just have to wait and see who's going to start, and then, we're just kind of guessing who's going to get what minutes when it comes to the bench guys for Philly. Thibault's not a terribly productive player, but, if he's going to start, if he for some reason start tonight, then I'd be fine with him. George Hill got more minutes. They apparently want to give some minutes to Shake Milton. So any of those guys are also guys that we can look to today for value. I'm just going to go ahead, since it fits perfectly, I'll just go ahead and plug Gallinari in here alongside Huerter and just hope that both of them can have big games tonight. So that's kind of my studs and scrubs lineup there, guys. Mitchell, George, Embiid being the studs. Ingles and Batum kind of in the mid-range with Huerter, and then Gallinari, Beverly kind of as my value guys. So let's try and make another quick one here. And like I said, Embiid just makes me nervous. He just makes me nervous because he was bad in that second half, and I think a lot of it actually had to do with something physical with his knee. So I don't trust that this knee is going to hold out. But then again, how can you leave him out? But I am going to build a lineup that doesn't have Joel Embiid in it, and this is what it looked like when I put it together earlier. I went ahead and went to Clint Capella. Rudy Gobert hasn't been very good offensively the last couple of games, and he's almost $800 more. Let's just look at Gobert's log real quick. Yeah, 30 and 32 minutes, 29 and 23 fantasy points. But then he has the potential for these 48-point games. So if you feel more comfortable going into Gobert, I get it. Capella hasn't been great either, but 37 and 33 his last two games, and he always has the potential, to have one of those nights where he scores 17, 18 points, gets 15 or 16 rebounds, and goes off. We haven't seen it yet, but he has the potential, so I'll take the savings when filling the center spot. So if I'm not going to have Embiid in this lineup, I am absolutely going to have Ben Simmons in it. I know Ben Simmons hasn't been great, but, game-wise, but he's still, for a guy that can't shoot, he gets a lot of fantasy points, guys. So at 7,600, he put up 45 fantasy points last game and only had 11 points. But he had 2 blocks, 9 assists, 12 rebounds, one more assist, and he gets a triple-double, only scoring 11 points. So he certainly has that kind of upside. And if Ben Simmons is limited at all tonight, then some of the offensive, overload or slack or whatever you want to call it is going to have to fall on guys like Simmons and Harris. And that's why I'll go ahead and put Harris in to my small forward position here without Embiid in my lineup. If I'm not going to play Embiid, I'm going to play Harris and Simmons together. Harris has been very consistent, very good, and like I said, Ben Simmons has triple-double upside any night that he's on the floor. So in the shooting guard position here, they're about the same price, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug Donovan Mitchell back into the second lineup because I know he's going to have the ball in his hands, and he's going to pretty much do it all for Utah once again, with or without Conley. We'll go ahead and leave Mitchell into this second lineup. And then a guy who's played really good the last 2 games, he's very inconsistent. I mean, he's not a guy that you can always trust, but we've had luck playing John Collins the last 2 slates, and he's put up 30 and then 36 fantasy points in 37 minutes the last slate. So if he's going to get those kind of minutes, you just hope that he's rebounding and his shots going in. And if some chance that Embiid maybe wouldn't be able to play as effectively or as many minutes tonight or at all, then it sets up as a good spot for Collins and Capella. And then I finished this off. We talked about Mann already from the Clippers. I'm just going to I'm kind of assuming that he starts tonight. So in this lineup, I'll go ahead and use Mann in my guard position. And then I'll go to Morris and hope that he has, for once, back-to-back big games for the Clippers instead of an every other night. And then I finished it out with a guy that I really like tonight. I really do like this guy. And if I build a third lineup, I'm probably going to have him in it just because without Kawhi Leonard, somebody else is going to have to score. Reggie Jackson is coming off a horrible game. So hopefully that'll push his ownership down tonight. You see that 9 fantasy points in 29 minutes. Hopefully that gets a lot of people off Reggie Jackson tonight. I think he bounces back. I think it's just a fluke. He's had a couple of bad games in this series, but he's going to play big minutes tonight. And again, somebody else besides Paul George is going to have to do some of the scoring. And if Jackson's going to be on the floor, hopefully back to this 36 minutes. But even if he isn't, even at 30 minutes, I don't think he's going to score 9 fantasy points again. So I like Reggie Jackson in here again, and he fits perfectly to build up salary-wise for our last lineup. So that's a couple of ways that I'm thinking, guys, tonight. In fact, those 2 lineups we just built, I will more than likely put in. Granted, we don't get any news that Mike Conley is playing tonight. If he does, I have no interest in Joe Ingles, unless he's on some kind of a minutes limit. It'll get really muddy if Conley plays tonight, but we'll certainly have to make some changes. It'll certainly be a factor. So that's the way I'm thinking tonight, guys. Again, I appreciate you tuning in for the video. Really does help the channel as we're trying to build it up here as we make our way towards football season, where I had a lot of success. It's one of the main reasons I wanted to start this channel, to help the regular guys at fantasy football, because I had a lot of success, a couple of $10,000 takedowns this last season, and we're going to shoot for doing that again this year. So if you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification bell now, guys, we can keep these videos going as we get into the football season, and hopefully we can make those every day as well. But yeah, that's what we're going to do tonight. So good luck to all of you. Good luck to all of us. And tomorrow's a showdown slate, so I probably won't make a video, but we'll see. I might. But anyway, if it's tomorrow or if it's Friday, I will talk to you guys next time. Once again, guys, give me a follow on Twitter at SandoDFS, at SandoDFS. That way you guys catch any updates that come out, any adjustments that I think we might need to make to the lineup. So yeah, good luck to you, good luck to me, and we'll talk to you next time on the Regular Guy DFS Show.